You blitz all night.
I want you to hit everything to move. If the ref gets your way, you hit him.
This young man plays for my team, and I will defend him like he's my own son against you or any other redneck.
We're going to get him on the run, boys. Once we get him on the run, we're going to keep him on the run. And then we're going to go. And we're not going to stop until we get across that goal line.
You'll never get anywhere treating your helmet like a lunchbox, son.
I don't want to play no more. Hey, ball, he broke in my nose.
That's football, guys.
Welcome once again to the Bills&Bones Podcast. I'm Gio. I'm here as always with my co-host PC. We started Bills&Bones to talk football for the fans with a focus on PC's team, the Buffalo Bills, and my team, the Las Vegas Raiders. We're doing a longer show for you as we're recording every other week now. This week we're talking digs for you. We also have OJ coming up for you Buffalo Bills fans, and we're going to get into how the NFL actually makes its money. If this is your first show, thanks for joining us, and we're glad that you are here. This show is brought to you by Only in the Dark dating app. You don't have to be lonely. You just have to lower your standards. We're going to be talking today about how the NFL actually makes its money, and we're also going to get into the whole, is the NFL fake? Because it's a good time to put that in the conversation. It comes up all the time. I hear people posting, oh, this play happened, that it must be fake, all those kind of things. So we're going to break that down a little bit for you as well. So first off, just a general overview, how the NFL makes its money. The NFL makes its money by 5 main streams. First is broadcasting deals. Broadcasting deals is the number one way the NFL makes its money. So NBC, CBS, Fox, ESPN, Amazon, YouTube TV, all those providers are contributing billions of dollars to the NFL for the rights to play the games on their stations. So that's going to be the major way the NFL makes its money. Digital broadcasting is getting up there. As I said, things like Amazon Prime and YouTube Video, Peacock is now getting onto it. So those digital medias are also picking up for merchandise, for revenue. Merchandise is definitely a part of the NFL profit portfolio. It's not maybe as big as lots of people think it is, as far as as big of a piece of the pie as lots of people think it is, but it definitely counts for a lot of the money that they make. Anything from jerseys, hats, dog collars, necklaces, earrings, whatever it is. They have, dresses, whatever it is. The NFL, makes money merchandising, and a lot of other companies that are not the NFL make money merchandising NFL, teams and all that as well. So sponsorship and advertising is the fourth way. Sponsorship and advertising can be local, it can be national. Your local radio station, might have that sponsoring and advertising as well as broadcasting larger audiences. It makes up a small portion of it, but like sponsors like Pepsi and Ford and those kind of sponsors, all contribute money. They also, pay money to have only their product maybe in those stadiums. Most of the stadiums, if they carry Pepsi, they're really not paying anything for Pepsi. It's just that Pepsi owns everything, there. They're not really paying a lot of money for that soda that you are paying like, $10 for. The fifth one is ticket sales and stadium revenue, which is actually increasing now with the whole concept of PSLs and everything, which we're going to get into a little bit later. Ticket sales are definitely going up, as you Buffalo Bills fans are going to be learning shortly. Just like Las Vegas Raiders fans found out as well, those PSLs are going to take a huge chunk out of your pocket, and it's going to give a huge chunk into other pockets. So that comes up. As far as, does the NFL rely on ticket sales? No, not really. It does make up for a good portion of money that teams make, and we're going to break down how they make money on ticket sales. But if you remember during COVID, they didn't have ticket sales. They ran the whole season, no problem. They weren't losing money that season, I promise you. So those are the 5 main ways that they make money. So we're going to break them down for you a little bit. Before we kind of get into all that breakdown, though, I would like PC to talk about this whole Diggs situation and the whole OJ situation as well.
Well, first of all, I'll get into Diggs. Obviously, great player. Had 4 strong seasons with the Bills. Was Josh's go-to guy throughout his entire time here. Got a lot of catches, made a lot of plays, also made a lot of money. And
Maybe not recently.
Well, maybe not in the playoffs, sure. But I mean, as far as the body of work, Diggs certainly was a huge contributor. Did he have his struggles at the end of last season? Absolutely. But I don't think it was that. I don't think that's the reason why he had to go. There was some obvious dissension between him and the coach last season before everything had even gotten started. And then, of course, the rumors you hear about some of the things going on between him and Josh. If there was anything going on between him and the quarterback, obviously that was going to be an issue that needed to be dealt with. It seemed like throughout the season, things just continued to get worse. So the Bills had to make a very difficult decision. They were on the hook for $27 million for him next year anyway. The dead cap hit was $31 million with the possible incentives and things like that. So obviously that's a huge chunk to have to be responsible for. The biggest payout to a non-quarterback player of dead cap money so far. It's not something that Bean is going to be very proud of, but obviously he wanted to go. The Bills needed a fresh start, and in the long run, if you look at how Diggs set up the contract, he's going to get paid about 20 to 22 million next year, and he could become a free agent if he wants to. So ultimately, he wanted to go out and get paid, and if he has a good season with the Texans next year, he has an opportunity to do that. But at the end of the day, we got some more capital. They did trade away a 5th and a 6th next year, but received that second rounder. And of course, that's going to be Minnesota's pick. So if he doesn't, if the Vikings have a rough season and the Bills can get a pick that's obviously early second round, that could be very beneficial to them. Or it could be something they use to package in a trade in 2 weeks, which obviously Bills fans are very excited about the draft coming up and the possibility of scoring some big play wide receivers in that draft to help Josh to kind of pick up the slack with Diggs being gone and Gabe Davis too.
Now, do you think that Houston is going to get the best out of Diggs, or do you think that Buffalo got the best out of Diggs?
It's hard to say. I think Josh focused on Diggs quite a bit, and don't forget, I mean, he's 30, he'll be 31. So
yeah,
I mean, who knows? If he goes out there and he tears it up, has 100 catches with 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns, he's going to have his payday next year. But at the same time, if he struggles, I mean, and he doesn't get the expectations that obviously the Texans got him in there for, he's going to have a very tough road getting any type of contract moving forward. And obviously that will be the one that will secure his future as far as financially speaking. I mean, obviously the guy's already rich, but that last contract that he's probably, and definitely, I shouldn't say probably, he's definitely playing for this year. He plays well enough to get paid. He could definitely score big time on the free agent market.
I think he might be good for CJ Stroud too, as far as wide receivers definitely do help bring quarterbacks along.
Sure.
When you have that
ones like Diggs, yes,
absolutely. That high quality of a receiver. For us, it's Devontae, helping Aiden and that kind of thing, bring him along. So I could see Diggs, connecting with CJ and helping that along too. It'll be an interesting thing to see if that new connection winds up being a better connection than he had this year or a worse one. I mean, he's definitely going to get double teamed over there. I mean, they don't have any receiver that's going to draw people off of Diggs, so he's going to have to get those catches.
Look at their triple threat. Their receiving core is probably the best in the league right now. Yes, Diggs is going to demand a lot of respect with the double teams and such, but I wouldn't be surprised if teams have to take chances against that Houston team with blitzing and such, putting him in man-to-man situations where he could go out there and be deadly like he was. But again, that's timing, that's experience, that's working with the guy. So I'm I know Diggs. He certainly has already started working with Stroud. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I wouldn't be surprised if they're good and we play them down the road, in January.
Now on the Bills forums, everyone seemed really shocked about the Diggs trade. Do you think that's the general thing with Mafia and Bills fans in general? Is like, what the heck? We didn't see that coming.
Well, yeah, because of the money. I mean, when you take a dead cap hit of $31 million, that's unheard of, especially from a guy like Bean, who's typically very close to the chest with the moves that they're going to make. And when those moves happen, it seems like it always works out best for us. And of course, the Bills have drafted some guys that have gone on and done well on other teams. But, for the most part, the moves that this general manager has made, especially moving around in the draft, has been very beneficial for the Bills. Got a lot of stars doing it. Obviously, we moved up to get Josh. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, and Diggs being gone might be the best thing that's ever happened to this team, with the opportunity to bring in some young guys that can bond with Josh and move forward and forget about all this craziness that's happened over the last season.
Which is funny because like he's kind of painted as, he's like that great locker room guy, and he's getting everybody pumped all the time and all that. So it'll be interesting to see if he actually was that guy for the Bills. If his loss is losing one of their, one of their pump up guys there, it'll be interesting. I think that his role in that might be a little over exaggerated. So I'm curious to see if I'm right about that, but he's painted as like, this is the guy that wakes us up and gets us going and all those kind of things.
Well, it's funny. He was always very vocal and very much, celebratory after touchdowns and big plays in the times where we were winning and when he was getting the ball. But late last season, you saw a totally different attitude from him, and it wasn't a bad attitude.
For sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to say that there was anything bad going on, but body language speaks a lot. And when I was at that Denver game on Monday night, right before they really turned it around, you could just tell something was going on between him and Josh. There was just some weird body language, some weird like communication going on, which, you could, if you've had friends, if you had brothers, you had guys that you played sports with, you can notice when things like that are going on. And something was definitely going on between those two later in the season, even though Josh did his best to make sure that everybody knew that everything was fine and dandy. He's still my guy, yada, yada, yada. Well, here we are.
Yeah, and it gets proven out through the plays. I mean, who is he throwing to all the time? What's the strategy? I mean, you guys also changed out your OC there too, so you have a changes the strategy and all that during the year too when that happens. But
sure, but I think the problem with that OC and the reason why he lost his job is because everything was flowing to Diggs, and they weren't using some of the other options that were available, the tight end, the running back.
Yeah.
Shakir obviously got into the game plan later in the season. So with that coach being gone, I feel like Diggs was not happy with that either. That had a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, I kind of relate Diggs to like a Pickens there over at Steelers, but I would say Diggs is not as toxic of a problem over there, but
Well,
I do feel
he's made a lot of plays too, so
Yeah,
he could back it
yeah.
up with that play in the field.
Well, maybe his brother will be happy now and stop, tweeting all the time about getting him off the Bills and all that. Maybe his brother will settle down now.
Problems to worry about with his own team. They're bad enough. He should be worried about them getting himself back out there.
It certainly doesn't help. That's for freaking sure.
Yes.
So OJ is gone. He's dead now. So what are Bill's reactions? It's so funny when you bring up OJ to Bills fans. It's like, well, I used to love watching him play, but I just can't support him anymore. From all that kind of thing. So the emotion is interesting. And I watch the Bills forums and stuff, and the moderator on the Bills Mafia forum finally told people, like, you have to respect everyone's opinion on OJ no matter what it was. You guys got to start respecting your opinions. He said he was being flooded with requests of people that wanted to block other people because they either supported OJ or wouldn't support OJ. And he wound up in the moderator himself wound up in this whole battle of who gets booted and who doesn't, and all that, all over OJ, who, hasn't been a player for a long time, but that much kind of controversy.
It's two parts for me. Okay. I'm not old enough to remember him playing whatsoever. Okay. But I am old enough to remember when he was still a good guy before anybody had any opinions about him. Okay. And my dad being one of them, who was a huge fan of the Juice and the Electric Company and the Bills. And what people fail to forget, okay, stats are all made to be broken, right? So OJ's record of 2,000 yards in one season is incredible. It's incredible in a 17-game season. It's incredible in a 16-game season, which not a lot, but a few players were able to do. But Juice had 2,014 games. That's incredible to be able to go out there and have big games like that week in and week out on a team that stunk and really didn't do much and never had any playoff runs with him on the squad. So, there's that. Okay.
I mean, even technology gets involved. Just the design of shoes, the design of cleats. I mean, the design of the fields, the design of the uniforms. I mean, just all that kind of stuff comes into play there with skewing those numbers for newer players.
No, I mean, and he was great. I mean, there's no doubt about it. At USC, he was the man. And when the Bills got him and he came here and he played, people loved him. And it was the juice is loose, man. Everybody loved him. Now, when he retires and he starts doing movies, and now remember, G, back in 90s, 92, 93, he's the color guy on the field, doing interviews, giving, updates on injuries, things like that. So everybody does that in every single play, every game now. Fox, ABC, ESPN, CBS, they all do that. But OJ was one of the first guys that was down on the sideline that was actually with the microphone in guys' faces, hey, is he going to be back out there? We'll let you know that, all that kind of stuff. He was the guy that was down there making sure, that he got the best report. Well, you and I talked about this. Okay. This is the craziest part of all of it, especially for Bills fans. You can believe what you want. You can believe he did it or not. You can have any opinion on it that you want. But the thing that changed the way that I think about him was this. In court, they used the famous pictures of him wearing the Bruno Mali shoes. I'm sure you remember all that shit, right? Because of the footprint of the blood that was at the scene. And he said that he never owned a pair of Bruno Mali shoes. Well, he was here getting his pictures taken at one of the playoff games in the 90s, wearing those shoes down on the carpet at the Ralph. And guess what? Right there, I knew he was full of baloney. I knew he was a liar. So what else was I supposed to think? I think that he was the most, the worst tragedy in Buffalo history. And it didn't even have to do with losing a game. I mean, he was the one thing that people could talk about on those terrible Bills teams in the 70s, yet he goes and gets himself involved in this terrible situation. Then obviously, all the things that happened after, he just completely turned into a circus and a clown show. And, it kind of gave Buffalo a really black eye. And unfortunately, he was part of something that I love a great deal. And for him to have, kind of, anytime you saw him on TV and they're showing football highlights of him, what'd you see? He's wearing Bills jersey. I mean, that's the last thing you want to be involved in is a murder trials of that atrocity and that just brutality. That was awful. And, we were smack dab in the middle of it, even though we didn't want to be. It was crazy. It's a crazy time. Angie, that is the year I graduated from high school. So 94, that summer, I'm watching the Knicks and the Rockets in the NBA Finals, and the Bronco chase comes on TV that everybody watched on, and there's another thing that kind of showed that he might have been up to something if he needed to have all that craziness going on. But
I think Bills got lucky that this didn't happen during the season, because they would have had to decide, what are we going to do? You know what I mean? Like what are we going to do? Like, are we going to have an OJ night? I mean, they got lucky that this happened during the offseason, I feel.
Well, I mean, he had been retired for years after all that stuff happened. But you're right. I mean, obviously, to be totally, have no association with the team anymore was certainly a positive thing for us, yes.
Before we get into actual ticket sales and how that money gets distributed and all that, I figure it's a good time to talk about PSLs. PSLs are definitely coming up now for you Bills fans that are looking into the new stadium and what's this going to mean for my season tickets. And honestly, can you afford them? PSLs is the new topic of conversation for those of you fans that, wanted this new stadium and everything. You might have wished yourself out of being able to get your season tickets there now.
That's for sure.
Yeah. You might be regretting that decision a little bit. We'll have to find out. But as far as ticket sales go, the reason why ticket sales are important to the league is that 34% of each team's ticket revenue is actually put into a general pool for all the teams. So do they make money? Yeah, they actually make money in a profit sharing way on tickets. So ticket sales are an important contribution to the owners and to the teams because of that pool. Okay. And it makes up, 66% of the 18.7 billion in revenue winds up being, distributed among everybody and all the other teams. But, this makes up 34% of that. So that's quite a bit to do. As far as ticket sales, how do ticket sales do? If we look at like the Bills ticket sales, their ticket sales were at 68 million tickets, 68 million.
Renew, baby.
We're at 68 million in ticket sales. So, and the renewal rate for your season tickets from 2022 to 2023 was a 97% renewal rate. That is a huge renewal rate.
Yeah. And
I don't see a way possible that 97% of your fans are making it over to the new stadium. I don't think that that's going to be a thing. I really don't.
Well, it's the best deal in town. Don't forget about that, Chi. I mean, as far as the NFL goes, I think Arizona is the only other team in the league that can even come close to the ticket price of what goes on in Buffalo. So, I mean, the time was coming where we were going to have to start to catch up with everybody else. And it's funny that you talk about the ticket sharing that was going on, and continues to go on right now. Many of the owners didn't want to do that because teams like the Bills didn't charge nearly as much as the teams like the Cowboys or Washington or,
still
whoever.
don't. Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, Ralph Wilson was collecting huge checks and, was charging almost peanuts compared to some of these other franchises, yet he was still getting his percentage every single time, including the TV money as well. So, I mean, obviously, at some point, the Bills were going to have to catch up with everybody else. But still, I mean, around here and in Buffalo, paying that kind of cash is a big ask for Bills fans. That's for sure.
It's huge. I mean, your family has has season tickets right now. I'm sure they've been looking into what season tickets in the new stadium is going to look like. What is it going to look like for them?
So, I mean, probably in the $15,000 PSL range for Pops and my brother's seats. So, and remember, you and I talked a little bit about this. That's a 30-year lease. They don't get to keep that seat forever. That's for 30 years.
Yeah, which is crazy to me. I mean, that's crazy that every generation is going to have to rebuy this. Like the whole sale pitch of it, of you own this seat and I can buy this seat and I can hand it down to my kids and blah, blah, blah. That all goes away with that 30-year deal, because if your dad buys this seat, then even in your lifetime, you're going to have to rebuy that seat. You know what I mean? Or if you have younger kids, my daughter's 4, my son's 11, let's say I buy the PSL now, my kid's going to have to rebuy that, or I'm going to have to rebuy that for them either way.
Right.
But it's not even going to span a generation. So you aren't owning anything. You're renting it. And in 30 years, the cost of that PSL is obviously going to be much higher. And I mean,
Right.
you would hope that Bills would get a Super Bowl in that period of time too, and make them more valuable.
That's going to jack that price up even more. You know that.
Yeah.
You win one, and like you're on the hook forever. That's just the way that it goes. And to be perfectly honest with you, you're right. There won't be a lot of fans that have been supporting this team for the last 50, 60 years that are going to be going in there and buying those new seats. Maybe half those seats will be the old time fans. And you already know it's going to be brokers and FanDuel and all those. Those will be the ones that buy those
companies,
seats.
All that. Yep.
Yeah. And then
it'll be interesting to see if there's a division too, as far as like if you start getting you're not a real fan because you're not going to pony up $15,000, for your seats. So it'll be interesting. I actually think it's going to start forcing some of that Bills Mafia crowd that we talked about, like the Bills Mafia crowd versus your old school Bills fans. I think it's going to start pushing some of those Bills Mafia fans out of the realm, because if I'm a 22-year-old, I'm a Bills Mafia kind of guy. That's what I grew up with. That's what I saw. I'm a Bills Mafia guy. I also probably don't have $17,000 laying around to buy some season tickets, but someone like your dad or you, in your point in lives, that's a more doable thing to come up with. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a changing of the fan base that are at all of those games, if the price kind of forces the younger crowd out of season tickets. I mean, obviously they can go to individual games and everything, but force them out of season tickets. I mean, our buddy Jimmy, who's been on this show, he has 4 season tickets, and he's younger than both of us. He's a young guy. I don't know if he's going to afford all 4 season tickets with his PSL thing. I mean, that's going to be pretty hefty to do. So it'll be interesting to see.
One seat will cost probably 5 times what he pays for 4 on the PSL, because he's up in 300s. PSLs for the 300s, people are talking about 7,500 to 5,000, maybe.
And that's more if you don't go out and win a Super Bowl next year.
Well, and even if they,
I mean, you know what I mean? You guys go out and win a Super Bowl next year, then that might change some things. I mean, from the stats from 2022 and 2023, it's only the second time in the Bills franchise history that they've had a ticket base above 60,000 fans attending. So that fan base has already started, going up, because people are starting to believe. So, it's starting to go up. You get a Super Bowl in there, it'll be interesting. Look what happened with Detroit there. I was going to go to the Raiders game in Detroit. Before the season started, I was looking at tickets, and it was going to be like $40 a ticket. For like $40.
Good.
And then close to the game, I went to go buy them. It was like $200-something for a ticket. I mean,
that's the way it always goes.
Crazy.
That's what's fun about the schedule coming out. You get to, kind of gamble on the trips that you're going to make. And obviously, I got stories for days on stuff like that. But the one thing I wanted to talk about before we moved on with the ticket stuff is this. Everybody talks about, how big Bills fans are, and we are, and we're proud, and there's a lot of pride here, absolutely. But I'm sure you've heard a lot of stories about the greatest comeback game of all time, okay? The Bills played the Oilers in wild card round back, I think, in 93. And they were down 38-3 in the second half after their backup quarterback threw a pick 6. And then Frank Reich was his name, comes back. They win in overtime. And actually, they were down 35-3. Took the lead in regulation, 38-35, and then they kick a field goal tie, and we win in overtime. But the craziest thing about that is, you probably don't even remember this. Back in the day, there was the blackout rule. If you didn't sell the game out before Thursday.
Oh, yeah, I remember blackout games. Oh, yeah.
All the loyal Bills fans, right?
Yeah.
The comeback game was blacked out. You couldn't even watch it on television in Buffalo. So everybody who has all this faith in all of our people here, that's great. And I think that, a lot of season ticket holders will buy up those seats. But don't think for a second if we stink or if things go the other way or Josh, God forbid, gets hurt one season, that people aren't going to unload their seats to Raiders fans and Packers fans and Patriots fans because they're coming.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to see that new stadium too.
Yep. Speaking of Raiders, if we start going into PSLs on what's going on with the Raiders here, PSL sales for our stadium are at $549 million currently, just on PSL sales. So that doesn't include, all the people buying tickets and all that. Just PSL sales, $549 million.
And they taxed me on my 2 trips out to Vegas to pay for that thing. So I know a couple of my trips out there certainly helped, a corner in that place. I'll promise you that.
So they sold PSLs for 55,000 of the 65,000 seats that are in Allegiant Stadium. So, Vegas is a unique market. We've talked about it before. It's honestly, it sounds very impressive. 55,000 of 65,000 seats are PSLs, but for Vegas, that's kind of what you would almost expect, compared to Pittsburgh or Buffalo or something like that. I mean, Vegas just puts us in that, in that limelight. As far as, what are people paying for this? It ranges anywhere from 500, your top tier, 75,000 to own the rights to that. 75,000. It's going to be those.
One of the casinos owns one of those.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And of those PSLs, so there's 55,000 PSLs. There's only 33,000 of those that are actually buyers from Nevada. So to give you an idea, all you Raider Nation guys that are wondering, hey, where are all of our fans? How come we're not filling the stadium? There's only 33 of the 55,000 that are from Nevada. Where do you think all the rest of those come from? They all come from casinos, from companies, from whoever. They don't care who they sell a ticket to. They don't care if it's a Raiders fan. They're gonna sell it to whoever they want to make that money. And that's the danger that you run into with this is, these businesses buy these PSLs and either they give the tickets away to whoever as favors or whatever else, or they sell them, and then you wind up with Charger fans.
Yeah, there is another wrinkle to that too. Like, let's say Vegas has the Final Four, you get first pick of your PSL seat. So if you want to buy the tickets for let's say you got nice seats down there in the lower bowl, and you got your PSL. And you buy the tickets for that event, and then you want to go and sell them, you can do that too. So there are little angles for people to make money that, even though I'm a Raiders fan, I can still get some cheese out of this. That certainly is an opportunity for people. But still, the amount you're paying to sit there 10 times a year for most people is ridiculous. And
it's crazy.
It's going to change the way that people look at sports, especially in Buffalo.
And that's that's going to happen to Buffalo. It's not the market that Las Vegas is, but there's definitely going to be those companies that are buying up these PSLs, and and they don't care. They'll give their seat to me to go to a Bills game. They don't care. You know what I mean? That's definitely going to be happening at Buffalo too. So this whole new stadium thing, I'm kind of waiting for after it's a reality. All those people that were on those forums about, we deserve a new stadium and keep them here and blah, 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 blah. We'll see what they're saying when they lose their season tickets and they got a whole bunch of, Steelers fans in their house for the game. We'll see how they take that. As far as Raiders ticket sales, we have 130 million ticket sales. So we sell really well. The worst of the ticket sales, it's funny, whenever we do these best and worst things, the team that keeps on coming up for worst is the team that I am trying to get my son away from, which is the Arizona Cardinals. So Arizona Cardinals finished dead last for ticket revenue at 58 million. Dead last. Nobody wants to see that. I guess.
Their quarterback got hurt and they stink. And they got rid of half their team. But you're right. I mean, they're just always at the bottom of that list.
Always at the bottom. And San Francisco is actually number one at 136 million. So San Francisco actually took the number one spot. You would think, people would think, well, wouldn't that be, Kansas City? I mean, how are they not the most ticket sales? But San Francisco got them.
A little bit about that real quick too, since you're all over this. They went to vote because the owners want a new stadium that they want to be funded by, the people from the state. So they turned it down. They shot it down. They didn't like the deal. So there is serious talk about the Chiefs moving out of Kansas City and possibly going somewhere else. And what else do you need to do, G? Do you win 3 Super Bowls out of 4?
Yeah.
And the owners are like, yeah, well, we can make more money and stick, we'll go to Vancouver. I don't know where the hell they're going, but
it would be interesting. Like, can you think of another state that, like another state that needs a team? You know what I mean? That doesn't have a team right now that you're like, if they really had a team, it'd be great. I can't really think of one.
The Royals are part of this too. I know that both of them are looking for stadiums. So it's just like, man, like people will not realize how lucky we are if we're able to make this all work and keep it afloat and continue to win and hopefully get a Super Bowl, because I can't even imagine, they build this monstrosity and then in 20 years they're gone. That's crazy to even think about.
I mean, it would be detrimental to Kansas City to lose that team. I mean, their fans would just be devastated. Like they've been sticking it out with, not that they have a horrible history with the Chiefs, but they've been sticking it out here. They're on fire, and unfortunately now is the best time to market your team somewhere else, because right now they're on top and they've been on top. So market them now before that might not be the case.
Yeah, there's people with money to spend that will build stadiums themselves. Like we've seen that.
Yep.
I mean, or you go to Vegas and you just tax people in the casinos. Whatever angle these rich people are going to do, they're going to take it. And the Hunts have been around for a long time. They're going to make the best out of the situation. They finally got the Super Bowls that they wanted, and now they're going to do what they got to do to make some more money. And it's crazy to even think about the Chiefs not being there anymore.
Definitely. Talking about stadiums here as we get into some more things of where the money goes in the NFL. The most expensive stadium is actually SoFi Stadium out there in Inglewood, California. SoFi is, of course, the home of Los Angeles Rams and Los Angeles Chargers. They sit on a 298-acre development for that stadium. They have a 6-acre artificial lake there for that whole. I mean, they got retail in there and entertainment and recreation space. I mean, it's a whole huge thing. It's definitely a stadium I'd like to see.
It is. Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean,
I would like to see it
there. What, like 2 or 3 years ago? That place is just
every
time you see it, it's amazing. Bills have gone out there and won twice. They beat the Chargers and the Rams. But I mean, let's face it. It'd be nice to go out there and play in the Super Bowl. Go out to California and get to watch them play in that bad boy. That would be a fun one.
So where does that money go? How does that all get done? Blah blah blah. To build stadiums, people get loans. Some of those loans are actually from the NFL. The NFL helps contribute to build these stadiums. But in the case of SoFi Stadium, the Rams owner actually it kind of footed the major bill for that. He has $5 billion into that stadium. He's a technical owner. Both teams actually contribute $200 million a year to that loan that was taken out. The loan was from the NFL. So that $200 million a year, that's where like your PSL money is going to, and your ticket sales and all that kind of thing. Yep. So they split the cost of it every year. And because of that, they actually, charge like, a dollar rent to the Chargers for sharing that stadium, because they both just split it every year. So that's how that gets paid for. it's nice that people are getting together. It's great.
Yeah.
Number 2 on that list is actually MetLife. Which is of course located in New Jersey. Isn't MetLife used to be on some kind of landfill? I mean, I think all of New Jersey is pretty much a landfill.
Yeah, I mean it's a very strange area to watch. Just to be around, you got the city on one side and then like just complete New Jersey on the other, and which is kind of weird to look at. But stadium's amazing. I was there a couple years back. Bills played the Jets, and Lossman got hurt, and JP came in and threw a bomb to Lee Evans. Some Bills fans listening will probably remember that game, and they won. But one thing I remember is that place was loud. It was very loud there, and it was a cool place to watch a ball game. I'll tell you that.
Place in New Jersey was loud. That's shocking. Of course, the stadium is the home to the 2 New York teams. New York Jets and the New York Giants. Representing New York. It's
in Jersey.
In Jersey, yeah, they like to represent New York from afar. It works out better that way. They actually have a 25-year agreement between the Giants and the Jets to use MetLife Stadium. They're paying like 17 to 20 million a year for the next 25 years. Yep. The stadium opened in 2010, so at the end of that 25 years, we'll have to see if that changes or anything else. But so that's their arrangement. Is they both split that loan, which is the common arrangement for these shared stadiums. I don't know. I don't know what I feel about the shared stadium stadium thing.
It's just way too expensive there to be building 2 of them, and not to mention the fact that just the amount of people there. Like the space that a stadium takes up with the parking and everything else, and then throw in the traffic and all the craziness. I mean, you're just asking for trouble if they're to put it in Manhattan or something like that. I can't even believe they built that basketball gym in Brooklyn, but they did. And Barclay, that place is beautiful, but still, like, you got to be very careful where you put big stadiums like that, and I think that has a little bit to do with it.
And of course, third on our top 3 stadium cost list here is Allegiant Stadium, home of obviously Las Vegas Raiders. That stadium, I mean, I understand I'm a Raiders fan, I'm biased, but I'm going to say that it is the most beautiful stadium that I've seen. I really, really need to get there. I really need to take the tour of it. I mean, it's just a phenomenal sort of stadium. I mean, Oakland did not have a chance to compete with something like that.
Nobody does.
No one. I mean, Vegas. There's not another platform like Vegas.
Right.
I mean, for sure. There's not another
Cali's
market.
Sweet. That stadium, that $5 billion monstrosity that they made is sweet, but proximity, the other things that are around there to do. The Golden Knights are a couple blocks away. I mean, the rink is not too far, and not to mention all of the other concerts or shows or bachelor parties or whatever the heck you're down there for, that gives you the opportunity to go and take advantage of the Death Star. That place is awesome. It's been one of the coolest, like, anticipated buildings of all time, and it hasn't disappointed at all. And that flame too, G. We talked about that.
That's a great way, a great tribute and a great way to, reflect to the past too. Some of the cool things about that stadium, for those of you guys didn't know, the real grass thing. So it is real grass inside the dome, and how they take care of that is they actually have the whole field on a big tray. And that tray rotates to be outside to get the sun and everything else that it needs, and then rotates back inside. It's really just a phenomenal thing to watch. I mean, you can YouTube them, moving the field around. So if you want to see that, YouTube that. It's really awesome to watch. That's part of the tour that I would love to see is I'd love to see just how that works and everything else, because it is so cool to watch that. On average, they get 11,000 pounds of food scraps, obviously from the stadium, and instead of that going to landfills, they actually convert that to livestock feed for local farmers and stuff. So they've found a really nice way to turn those scraps into something useful, and then every month they have around 7,000 pounds of food left over, and they actually donate that to the local food bank down there. So those two pretty cool things that that stadium has brought to the community, as a way of giving back. That's a cool way to do it. So how did they pay for it? Well, $750 million was in public funding, and then $1.1 billion came from the Raiders. How they got that $750 million was taxing people like Crowley when he goes down there to visit, taxing his hotel room and stuff. I mean, they paid for that so quick. It wasn't even. We've talked about it offline here, but they could have just gone to a couple casinos. I mean, hey, we're going to put a stadium here. All these people are going to come here. We want $100 million for this. Okay, here you go. Here's $100 million.
Here, we'll buy five.
There's no market that could have done that. Yeah, there's just no market that could have done that.
Perfect spot for what they wanted to do. Absolutely.
So they started taxing those rooms in March of 2017 is when they started doing that special tax to raise that money to pay for the stadium. So, I mean, really, it's local or public funding. Lots of that money, did not come from the residents of Vegas. It came from tourists. It came from, you could never convince me that casinos did not pay into that stadium. I mean, there's no way you can convince me that casinos did not pay into that stadium as well. So, they got good money for that. And will continue to do that, yeah. And then you have Allegiant, the travel company. So it's called Allegiant Stadium. It's called Allegiant Stadium because Allegiant Travel Company is paying $20 million a year to call it Allegiant Stadium, and that contract is for 30 years. So just for the advertising of it being Allegiant Stadium, that right is $20 million for the next 30 years. So they have that money going towards the stadium as well. So that's how they pay for those kind of things.
$1 million for advertising over the next, is that right?
30 years. How many years? And then they're paying all the money, every time they put a blimp up there, whatever else, they're paying that, that kind of shit too. So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. It's a great way to, it's a great way to earn money. I mean, Allegiant Stadium isn't, it's not very sexy. But I didn't even know what Allegiant Travel Company was until they bought into the stadium.
Allegiant on my forehead for 5 million right now, no problem. Allegiant, I pledge allegiance to you.
Yeah. For 20 million, man. Whatever. I'll name my kid Allegiant. Hey, Allegiant, get over here. That's fine with me. It's not my life. It's their life.
Oh my God.
Getting into the Bills stadium, you guys have an interesting situation with your stadium. Originally, it was going to be 1.4 billion for your stadium. The actual Bills initially committed to covering $550 million of those construction costs, and then you have taxpayers contributing $850 million. $650 million from the state, the remainder from Erie County. So that's how that all broke down. The contract is that, what they got from the state, that $850 million, what they got from the combined thing, that's all they're getting. So the rest of it is up to the Bills to afford, the team. So the newest quote is at $1.7 billion. So the Bills are now another $300 million into this stadium already. And we would assume as building goes, it's probably going to go up a little bit even from 1.7 because, they haven't started getting completely into this yet. So the Bills find themselves with a rising price tag on this stadium.
There's two interesting things that are going to happen in this offseason. The draft being number one, obviously, because we need a lot of shoes to fill. But also, what is Terry going to do when it comes time to pay this bill? Where is this cash going to come from? We, like you said, I don't see it coming from us. So where is it going to come from? This guy's got tons of cash. I mean, there's no doubt that $300 million is not something that he could afford, like, by snapping his fingers. I know that he could make that happen, especially with the money that he's got coming in from all of the other angles that we were talking about. So they're on the hook for this. And I think if this owner, because we don't really talk too much about this, but he owns the Buffalo Sabres too, and they've been a disaster since he got here. The Bills have been very lucky because they got a good coach and an awesome quarterback. The Sabres stink, and they have fallen on their face or fallen on their sword, whatever you want to say, for the last 13 years, and they just finished out another terrible year. So people have already lost a lot of respect for him. The way that he's kept up the rink down there is kind of a joke. Things need to change, and I think a good start in showing face to the fan base would be for him to put his foot forward, bite the bullet, pay the $300 million, and keep the ball rolling so that this new stadium can happen and happen soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he's going to have to. I mean, you kind of already committed to that. So, you know, he's going to have to. Hopefully that price doesn't keep on rising. But you know, he's watching that that money start disappearing.
Yeah.
Merchandising. So merchandising is another way the NFL makes money. It accounts for like $4 billion a year, which is funny when we talk NFL money. It's like, yeah, you know, $4 billion a year, you know, that's okay, you know, that's nice, you know, but that's where we're at with merchandise.
That's probably a quarter of what they get from the TV stations, if that. It's probably not even that much. So
yeah,
I mean,
you know, $4 billion is nice. You know, that's nice. It's nice to get that, but yeah,
I mean, it's a lot, but like you said, it's not something that they're depending on. That's for sure.
No, not something that they're depending on. And you know, I think with the rise of things like cricket machines and stuff, you know, you can, you know, start making your own hoodies and everything else. You know, that's going to start cutting down on that. I think that how they're really making up for this merchandising sale is the whole woman aspect. If you notice, you know, these commercials for people wearing NFL hats and all that, lots of them are women, you know, wearing the jerseys and wearing the hats and all that. And part of that marketing, it did not used to be that way. It used to be, you know, Bud Light commercials. Yeah. But part of that is, yes, they are marketing they want women to buy, you know, those nicer fitting jerseys, or, you know, we're going on a cruise this year and we're looking at like sundresses and stuff for my wife. And they have some really nice Raiders, you know, nice fitting sundresses, you know, things like that. So, you know, are they marketing for women to wear NFL clothes? Absolutely. But to me, what the biggest market is for women is every Christmas, every birthday, every Father's Day, every whatever. Then the easy gift for me is my wife goes on NFL.com and buys me that new Raiders hat, that new Raiders hoodie, the whatever it is. Yep. You know, and you know, I get it from her, I get it from the kids. They know I'm going to love it, and it's really easy to do. So the main marketing for women is not necessarily them wearing the stuff. It's them buying you the stuff, and then they wear your old jersey while they just bought you a new jersey. That's, you know, that's kind of what they're going for with the whole targeting women. There definitely is a rise in women fan base as far as women watching football now. There definitely is a rise in that. But merchandising, whoever made the decision of, you know, let's switch focus and let's start targeting women for merchandising, they have made the NFL just tons of money from that move. That was a brilliant move. Women make up an estimated 45% of the NFL's like 150 fans. So 150 million American fans, not 150 fans, but so 45% is a very large percentage. I'm sure it's a higher percentage than lots of our listeners thought it would be for women. But 45% is a major growth in women getting involved in the NFL. I'm a fan of it. I like the idea of it. My wife has become a much bigger fan the past 3 years. She's gotten really into it. She follows, Raiders. She follows the players. She follows other players on other teams. I'll get out of work and I'll get updates on my phone from her about, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? She did fantasy league this year, which was really cool. And
I think we're both blessed in that department. My wife also loves it, and just like you, since she's known me, the easiest gift to get me has always been Bills stuff, hats, sweats, whatever. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. And she loves it. She knows the players. She knows the game. She can follow right along. She doesn't have to ask me too many questions, maybe with the stupid refs that I don't even have the answer to half the time. But
why would they call that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When you don't have an answer and you want to smash the TV, I mean, you can understand why people get frustrated. But
it's also really nice. It makes it easier when I want to buy for YouTube TV, it's $70 a month. And then the basic NFL package is like $350 for the season. I got to tell you, when your wife wants to spend Saturday and Sunday watching football with you, it's really easy to spend that $350 on those games too. So to me, it makes it a lot easier. It's fun watching the games with her. We actually had toyed around with the idea. Maybe we'll wind up doing it, but toyed around with the idea of doing an episode for you guys on, how can we get your wife or your girlfriend or whoever, how can we get her into football and all that, because it does change your viewpoint on how much football you can watch and give you someone else to talk to. So I enjoy it. I'm glad that my wife is involved in it. She has a bunch of her own Raider stuff.
68 million. That's 45% of 150 million. That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of people that are spending a lot of money. That's for sure.
And then the women, they found out is 80% of all sports apparel dollars is going from women, and they control 60% of the men's clothing. So 60% of the men's clothing is controlled by women buying it. So because they're buying it for gifts, and that's great, because now it's nice for me too, because I don't got to tell you what I want for Christmas. You know what I want for Christmas. They come out with a new hoodie or a new hat every like 3 or 4 weeks at this point. So there's always something new to buy me. But women are definitely becoming a very big money maker for the NFL, and I don't see that going away.
A lot of that started too, G, when they went with the breast cancer line. Remember with the pink in October, they would always. I really think that was a great way to draw people in. A lot of people that has affected their lives, and obviously affects women. So you get people who are rallying around an organization that's making money for your foundation. I mean, of course, you're going to become interested in what it's all about, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and it trickles down to the lower levels too. My 11-year-old, he plays football, and at his age, they're wearing the pink socks and all that kind of thing for that as well. So it trickles down too for that base. So let's talk owners. So why are owners getting involved in this? Are they making tons of money? All those kind of things. Easy way to put it is owners are not making tons of money to own a team. Owners own a team because they enjoy owning a team. For people at our level, you might buy a four-wheeler because you really enjoy that four-wheeler. Well, when you're at their level and you make billions of dollars, a year, then your four-wheeler is spending, 1.2 of that on a team or whatever, a couple $1 million a year on a team. So are owners making tons of money for the team? Like, do they get into it for the money? No, they definitely don't get into it for the money. Do owners turn a profit? Yeah, but you'd be surprised at how little that profit is. So let's talk, like salary cap, as far as owners, what are they spending and all that. But, salary cap is around 220 million. You talk bonuses and staff and miscellaneous things, you're 300 and up or so, for running your stadium. And then that doesn't even include your actual costs of running the stadium. So we're going to get into Green Bay, which gives a little more accurate number because they're public. But so the result of that is, where do they make money? The biggest part of them making money are those broadcasting deals. So the broadcasting deals are actually distributed through all the teams in the NFL, like another profit sharing thing. So they profit share ticket sales, they profit share the broadcasting. That accounts for around like 400 million or so. So, they get that $400 million check. That's nice. Are they making money on that $400 million check? Not as much as you would think. If we talk about Green Bay, since Green Bay is a public team, they have to post, publicly, what's going on with their finances and everything. So if we look at Green Bay, they spent $541 million last year, and that include their marketing, that includes the facilities, all that. $540 million is what was spent. As far as money coming in and what did they make, they cleared $68 million in profit. Now, $68 million sounds a lot to you and I. That sounds like a lot. To these guys, $68 million is, for some of these guys, is not worth them getting up for, to tell you the truth. So
don't forget, though, Green Bay is a little different animal than other teams. I mean, to be publicly owned and everybody has a little piece of the pie there, they're able to control some costs that other teams wouldn't have. But you're right. I mean, most of these, Jerry Jones got rich on oil, and he did the Cowboys for fun. I mean, let's be honest here. That's his fun. That's his little baby. But at the same time, some of these other owners are in different boats. I just wanted to make sure that it was clear that, Green Bay is able to do some things that other teams are not.
Yes, and Green Bay, we have numbers on them because they're a public. So I don't have, all the numbers on Dallas and blah, 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 because they don't have to post all that.
And they never would.
And they never would. They never would. But certainly these owners are not getting into the NFL team game because it's going to make them rich. That's certainly not the case. Sure. There's other ventures that they could invest in to make a lot more money, honestly, than they would on a team. So what does the NFL, make? What are they looking at? Around 20 billion or so is kind of around what they're making off the field there. So it's a lot of money. The NFL actually, lists itself as as like a non-profit, profit sharing sort of business, because they distribute money among other places, but that might be a little bit skewed on that. So
you mean they don't want to pay taxes, is what you're saying there, Jay?
I would never accuse the NFL of doing something shady. They're here. They're here for the people.
Do everything in the dark. That's for sure. Yes,
they're here for the people. That's what they're here to do. So the biggest check that those owners get is by far that around $400 million check from broadcasting, and then of course there's other ways that they make money as well. But that's the biggest way. So how do owners make money? Easy answer: broadcasting. That's how owners make money. Is that large pie that is separated among all those teams. So who's giving them that money? Well, media is giving them that money. If you look at Amazon just got into this game with their Thursday Night Football thing. They got a really nice contract. That whole exclusive contract thing. I mean, I pay for the NFL package, and if I did not have Amazon Prime as well, I wouldn't be able to watch Thursday night's game. Because even though my package, touts that you get every game and blah blah blah, well, I don't get the Thursday night games. I gotta go Amazon Prime to watch Thursday night.
And they had a Saturday night game. They had a Saturday night game.
So what are they paying for that right? They're paying $1 billion a season for that right. So they're paying $1 billion a season to show that, exclusive home of Thursday Night Football, $1 billion for the season. And they just got into it. So we'll see what goes on there. CBS, another big one. They have $2.1 billion that they invest every single season that they're investing into this for your games on Sunday there. Fox, $2.2 billion with their investment. NBC, $2 billion. So just from those companies, you're at, $10 billion or so a year, just from them. And then that money is distributed, throughout the league. So those networks and the rights to show NFL, that's where the majority of this money is coming from. Well, of their 5 different revenues.
You have to also bring in, especially now, the sports betting and the casino sponsorships have skyrocketed for a lot of these teams. So they're cashing in big time on that. You watch any game in any stadium and you're going to see, a FanDuel sign, a Caesar sign, MGM sign somewhere in that stadium. So who knows?
Which is funny because how long in sports was betting like hush hush, and you had to sneak down to the bar to your local bookie and make secret bets in the dark corner of the bar to bet on sports. And now there's kids playing and everything else, and FanDuel comes up behind them. It's just so funny how that's changed.
To kind of go off the football track, I saw a picture in Cincinnati there's a famous picture of Pete Rose sliding into third base. Charlie Hustle was his nickname. The statue they built for Rose is him sliding into third or home base or something. And in the background, MGM Bet. They got the betting parlor across the street from the baseball stadium that the guy got kicked out of.
Pete Rose.
Absolute joke.
Yeah. I met Pete Rose once as a kid, and he was pretty nasty. He was not friendly.
Right. What a window I gave you to tell that story.
I know. I just wanted to shake his hand, and I offered my hand, and he wouldn't shake it. So smart ass that I am, I was like, well, I bet you that I can get you to shake my hand. He didn't find it funny. He didn't find it funny. I'm probably lucky that I was a kid there, and he didn't want to go to major prison. So he wound up storming away. So that was my experience down when I went to Baseball Hall of Fame. I used to be
old G made Pete Rose stomp off a stage at an autograph signing in Rochester.
I wanted to be friends, but he didn't want to go that way. So we had to go a different way, I guess. I don't know. I was born to be a Raiders guy, even through baseball, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can bring this mentality to baseball too, apparently.
What a beauty you are.
He did not find it funny, and I did not get my handshake. So that one kind of exploded on me, unfortunately. Is the NFL fake? Let's get into this whole is the NFL fake thing. We're gonna start with the biggest claim that people give, because like a lot of things that we correct on this show, wording matters. What the actual thing is matters, and people mess with that wording or kind of give part of the story and then say, okay, well, this is a fact. Well, for the is NFL fake kind of deal, the big thing is that, well, they say NFL is a sports company, or it's listed as entertainment. Okay. Yes. NFL is an entertainment company. Football is the sport. So NFL is an entertainment company that is the middleman or the provider of us watching the sport of football. So it's not, like they're saying that, football is entertainment or it must be fake because the NFL is entertainment. No, NFL is a company. Football is a sport. There's a difference between those two things. So we'll start with that whole misnomer. Okay. So yes, NFL is an entertainment company. They are an entertainment company that brings us football. Can the NFL legally rig a game if they want to rig a game? it might surprise you, but the answer is yes. The NFL could legally rig every single game, every single Sunday, every single Thursday, whatever. They could rig every one of those games. They are completely within their rights to do that. There's no law against it, which is interesting that there's no law against that, but there isn't. The only law that's kind of like that actually has to do with trivia shows and quiz shows that came around in the 1950s, of all things. Yeah, they found out that they were rigging it, that they were rigging a quiz show. Yeah. So they actually, passed laws about you can't rig quiz shows. That was with Robert Redford, actually.
And I think that's the word, G, the rig. People confuse, is it fixed? Is it fake? With is it rigged? Because
yes,
in this day and age with betting and, referees and shaving points and all those types of things, and the accessibility to be able to lay money down, you're going to have people who are going to have a lot of questions when the refs are making weird calls at the end of football games or at the end of basketball games. I mean, that's going to continue to happen. So I'm
There's
fine.
also a difference between like bribery too. I mean, there is a law about bribery. There's the Bribery Act of 1964 where, you can't, bribe players, referees, coaches. Like that's against the law. But there's a difference between bribery and rigging as well, too. Those words are also different.
Yeah, and well, I mean, if I bribe some ref, he can rig the game, though, right? I mean,
the NFL is actually within their rights to tell the referees how to do their jobs, as long as they are not, giving a payoff for this game of, hey, if you call this call, we're going to give you an extra, $6,000. If the NFL was rigging the game and told the players that, the two teams and the refs, okay, listen, Chiefs are going to win this game. Refs, you got to make this happen. Bills, you got to lose it to the Chiefs. They actually could legally do that they could. Okay.
Sure.
The impossibility of them being able to do that is very high. On top of that, you're telling me that they are keeping all of these NFL players, all of these referees, all of these coaches, all of the personnel on the side of the field, all of those people aren't saying a word?
No way. Not a chance in France. No way.
There is no way. There is no way. As an example of that, I understand, WWF is a smaller market than NFL, but it's still a very, very large, very, very large market. But the people that are in, WWF are actually, a small portion of people compared to how many people are on NFL teams. And they can keep that a secret. Moving into the Raw years and WWE, whatever they are now, they could keep it a secret that is rigged. And that's only a couple of people. Mm-hmm. So you cannot turn around and tell me that throughout all the years, all these NFL players that got burned by teams and everything else, you're telling me none of them wanted a payday of unveiling how the NFL is fake? It's not possible for that. There's no way you can keep, that kind of a secret. You just can't. Looking at some of the claims that have come up recently, which the claims that I found to be pretty funny. One of them is that Vegas, of course it'd have to be Vegas. Vegas sends a script out to the players, and while the players practice during the week, is them looking over the script to find out what they have to do in the game.
Yeah.
Arian Foster is the guy that really started that, where, he's like, well, our practice was just us practicing the script. So once again, you're telling me all the photographers, all the people involved, blah, 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 they're all just quiet?
He was as dirty as it gets in college, too, and now all of a sudden he's going to be Mr., spill the beans. Get out of here. I mean, he's
not credible. Yeah,
There's
he's
just
not very credible.
Way that you're going to get 53 guys all on the same page that are going to keep their mouth shut about something like that.
And it's not just them. I mean, think of all the personnel on the sideline for these games. I mean, it's not just those players. It is hundreds of people a game, hundreds of people a game that have to keep quiet about that. It's just not, The other one is, the games are entertainment. The NFL gets the matchup that they want. Players don't have a choice, all those kind of things. Listen, if I'm the NFL, the matchup that I want is I want the Chicago Bears, or I want Las Vegas Raiders. I want Chargers. I want New York Jets or New York Giants. I want those teams to be complete powerhouses, because where I'm going to make my money is, Chicago, Miami, these places. That's where I'm going to make all my money. So you're telling me that in a league where they want to rig things for money, the Chicago Bears are as bad as they are? the New York Jets, the New York Giants.
And let's not forget that, organized crime was basically born in Chicago in this country, and you don't think that they're going to get a piece of the action if this thing is really rigged? Get the hell out of here. Yeah, that's a joke.
Just looking at the Raiders example, we just built this beautiful new stadium. You're telling me if you're the NFL and you're rigging things, you're not going to have Raiders win a Super Bowl in their brand new stadium, or you're not going to have Raiders go last year where they could have played a home game Super Bowl? No way.
They're rigging things. Why is Aaron Rodgers getting hurt on the fourth play of the game last year? 10 minutes after he just ran out on the field with the flag. That stuff is baloney. There's no way that those things are happening. It's a joke.
And as we've seen, Aaron Rodgers can't keep his mouth shut when he should. So you're telling me that he's not going to drop that it's somehow rigged? Exactly. I mean, he can't keep his mouth shut about anything.
Yeah, he'd be the first person to open his yap.
One of the ones that I love too came out of the Kansas City Chiefs game and the Buffalo Bills game here with that whole missed field goal. So they were saying that the wind was not a factor in that miss. It was actually magnets inside the football that carried the football off to the side to make them lose.
That's the worst one I've heard ever.
So the actual quote was, "Wind wasn't a factor all game, and wind won't move a ball like that. Oh, but magnetics will." That was the actual quote.
Season. I knew that dude was going to miss a kick at an important time at some point in the season. We had been predicting it all along. I think he's good. I think he's young. I think he's got a good future with us. But I think he thinks a little bit too much of himself. You're a kicker, bro. Don't be walking around in a wife beater acting like you're a hard ass. Please stop that kind of stuff. I'm done with that noise. You're a kicker. Be a kicker and make a goddamn kick, especially in a playoff game. All right, I'm done. I'm sorry.
And then another one involving the Bills was Bills and the whole Damar Hamlin thing. The whole Damar Hamlin thing where they said that was all rigged and that was all set up. It was all a show and everything else. I mean, you were in that stadium.
All his teammates were crying and screaming. People, it was as quiet as it could be. And you think that they faked that? So, no way. That right there is a perfect example of baloney. There's no way that was fake. No.
They were saying that got rigged to help out the Chiefs because you messed up with the number 1 seed and all that with Buffalo.
They got home field anyway. Kind of it didn't even matter. And then they lost to the Bengals anyway. So
must have been those magnets.
Yeah. Oh no, excuse me.
Damar Hamlin got hit by magnets.
This year. I'm sorry. Bass missed it this year. That was not the Bengals. Sorry.
It's just not. I mean, it would be if it was true, that it was rigged, it would be, extremely detrimental to the population. I mean, you think of all the people that live and die with their NFL teams and everything.
If we found out it was wrestling, I mean, what the hell are we going to do? Become baseball fans? I love baseball, but I'm not going to I don't live in New York City. I'm not moving there to watch the Yanks. Come on, man. It would end it. It would end it all.
It would end it. And which is another reason why you can't tell me that, if the players know this is going on, no one's getting paid, to drop that. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, give me a break. Hell, OJ would have done it. So if it was fake, it would have been
how he would have done it.
How they would rig it if they actually did rig it. Here's how they would do it. Yeah,
this is how I would do it.
one of the other points that I'm gonna say against the idea of rigging these games is Vegas will give odds and betting on the NFL.
Right.
What they won't give odds and betting on is, WWE and Raw and all those kind of things. You don't bet through MGM and stuff on those because they're rigged.
Yeah.
So if you follow the money, I mean, you really think that Vegas or MGM and all these companies, they're going to, run gambling and potentially lose all this money on a rigged game? I mean, at that point, you then have to say that all the casinos and everything are also in on rigging the games, and that they know the outcomes.
Don't you think that they'd be making a lot more money? It all just points to the one thing about the NFL that's great is that everything is settled on the field. Yes, there are refs that can, come in and ruin it, and yes, guys could turn the ball over or turn an ankle or sit a play out or do stuff like that. But I just don't see that being something that's affecting this game. I just feel like, for the most part, you get the best effort of everybody out there. And, you got cities and teams and franchises that really want to win. And we're one of them, both of ours. And, someday.
And as far as like, how do these mistakes happen and stuff? To me, the people that really complain, or they say like, well, how do if it's not rigged, why do you throw that interception at the end of the game? To me, these people have not played a real sport. Anyone that has played a real sport for real competition, high school and college, whatever, knows that these things happen. That's why they're sports. Everybody has cracked at a moment under pressure. You've missed that 3-point shot, or you've struck out, or whatever it is. Everyone is cracked at those key moments. Yeah. And these people are human, and the kind of pressure that they face is nothing like any of us have ever had to face. And we're cracking up under high school pressure. They're cracking up with 66,000 fans in the stadium. I mean, these mistakes are going to happen, and a whole lot of money, contracts to come up, and all that kind of thing. Sure. One of the comments that I loved was, well, if sports aren't rigged, then if an offense has a quarterback that can throw 70 yards, why doesn't he throw it 70 yards every play? And when you hear a statement like that,
tell me you've never watched a football game with.
Tell me you've never watched a football game without telling me you've never watched football, or tell me you've never played football without telling me you've never played football. Yeah, that's what that is. Like, because they can throw 70 yards, why don't they throw it 70 yards every play? Kind of a ridiculous statement.
Yeah,
that
guy right there that's 295 pounds and runs a 4.7 is coming off the edge. He's going to try and smash that guy throwing at 70 yards down the field. And it's going to take him a couple seconds to do that. But this guy's going to get there in about 2 seconds. So fill in the blanks, dum-dum.
And honestly, if I had a quarterback that was throwing the ball 70 yards every play, I'd say it was rigged. I mean, it's the opposite of that is actually what makes it not rigged. Yeah. Because if these quarterbacks were able to do that every play, you'd be like, something's going on here, because they shouldn't be able to do that every play. It's just ridiculous comments. Now, do I believe that, there can be some payoffs, do I believe it's possible to pay off a ref to make a bad call in a key moment or something? Yeah, I believe that is possible. But that is nowhere near the same thing as saying that the NFL is rigged. There's always going to be, shady stuff when it comes to money. And there's always been money in sports. Before it was so popular, it was all hush-hush. But there's always been money in sports. As long as there's been money in sports, there's been payoffs in sports.
Yep.
But that's not saying that NFL is rigged. And also some of those bad calls are because refs make mistakes. And refs can be bad refs. And the other thing that people forget, in this day and age, when you can watch 18 angles of every play and every kind of speed that you want, you have to remember that these refs are watching this on the field, live action, these guys all in front of them, all those kind of things, and they're making that decision. It's not the same as you sitting on your couch watching a replay 8 different times. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. So do refs make mistakes? Yeah. And you know what? Refs have always made mistakes. You just have started getting on that because we have the technology to show the mistakes they've been making. They've been making those mistakes, in 1970 football too. You just didn't notice them as much because you didn't have all the camera angles and all that on it. That's why you didn't notice it.
Even with all the camera angles, even with all of the new technology, they still make mistakes, and people still disagree with the call that ends up being made from New York or wherever the hell they're making that call from. So, it's never always going to be cut and dry. Sometimes there's going to be, it looks like he might have tapped his foot in. They could see a little bit of the dirt coming. There's always going to be that stuff. That's always going to happen. And I think that that's part of the fun, too, is that when they go to the booth and people start having – me and you can argue. You argue about everything possible. There's one more thing that we can argue. I think he's in. I think he's out. Oh, well, here we go.
It's certainly like, when you're sitting in the stadium, when I was at the last Raiders and Bills game, that stuff is a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. when they're reviewing that play and you're going back and forth with some Bills fans or whatever, that's a lot of fun in those moments.
Know that they're going to change the call. That's the best.
Yeah.
That ain't no touchdown. Sorry, buddy. They're bringing it. The offense is already moving back. You already know how that goes.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you are new to the show, then check out all of our other episodes. We got a bunch of them uploaded for you. As I said, right now during the off season, we are spacing our shows out a little bit more, but we're doing some longer shows for you. Once the season starts up with preseason and all that, we're going to be doing a weekly podcast where we're going to cover all the games, and we're going to actually cover some betting and all those kind of things that go on for both the Raiders and the Bills. So for those of you Bills fans, thank you for joining us. For those of you Raiders fans, thank you for joining us. Our whole goal here is we want to provide you a show that you can talk about at work the next day. We're going to give you the things to talk about. It's not a show that we're just going to rattle off statistics at you. We're going to give you topics that are being talked about and arm you for things to talk about with other people. So we want to make this a fan-friendly show. We noticed that our viewers are going up, so thank you all for hitting those like buttons, and thank you guys for adding us on Twitter and TikTok and all that. We've now been picked up by all the major sponsors, so anywhere that you get your podcasts, you can find us on there. Type in Bills and Bones, we're right there. We're going to have some future shows coming up with you, some guests. I don't know what we're going to do next, PC. We have that movie episode that we're thinking about doing. We'll talk about that. If we are talking about doing something cool for the draft, which we're going to find out about here over the weekend.
Not
so
that bomb yet. We're still
we're not going to drop it yet, but we are trying to do something cool for you for the draft as well.
Location.
So stick with us and keep hitting that like, tell people about it, get the word out there. Thank you guys for listening to us. I just got stopped actually at a Nighthawks game, lacrosse game the other night from someone that listens to the show, and he loves the show, says he loves listening to us, and that's really cool to be stopped by somebody and say that they love the show. So, thank you guys. If you see us out there with our hoodies or stickers or whatever, let us know you're listening. Have a great night, and we will see you in about 2 weeks with our next show.